should be a thumbnail.
Hey, we're live, Roman.
Hey guys, welcome to another live show. And keep in mind that at 45 minutes from now, Nathan and Tommy are also going to go live from our studios. But we're here in San Diego with this, Andre. It's the new hardtop Mazda MX-5, the RF, and that stands for retractable
Fastback.
fastback. That's right. I missed it for a second. Retractable fastback. And Andre, why don't you give him a walk around the car and show him?
I don't think we're public.
Yeah, we are. It just takes a little bit.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we're public. Yeah.
There we go.
Give him a little walk around. Show him what the car looks like before we do the product presentation.
Try not to get some of your candy.
So we're here in San Diego, where Ken Sayward is going to give us the design walk around of this car. And this car obviously is very similar or identical to the regular MX-5, except of course it has the hardtop convertible. But the lines, the flying buttresses make it look that much more interesting. We are going to go after this and drive it. But I think these guys are ready to go. So let's get them to do the presentation.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. Hope your day yesterday was productive and you enjoyed the CX-5 and the roads and beautiful San Diego weather. Today I think you're going to enjoy them maybe a little bit more. You can experience top, up, and down in the new RF. We're excited to show this to you here today. Knowing that a lot of you guys are catching flights out, it's a bit of an abbreviated program. And since there's not too many technical differences between the soft top and the hard top, we're going to have Ken Sayward just present from a design perspective this morning. Jacob did send out in the email with all the presentations and photos and videos a technical spec sheet that does highlight the differences between the soft top and hard top. And if you have any follow-up questions from there, we'd be happy to set you guys up with one of our engineers to discuss any more that you might have from a technical perspective. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ken, get out of the way, and let you guys enjoy the day. Thanks again for joining us.
Welcome, guys, ladies. As you know, I'm Senior Manager of Design at R&D at Irvine, and what I want to do today is just do a quick walk around so this way you guys can get out in the cars and drive them. But just to talk a little bit about the design cues on the new RF, and also a little bit about some of the engineering challenges we had in developing it. When we started looking at doing an RF compared to what we had done in the RHT on the third gen car, we really wanted to have this car cater to a new buyer segment. We really saw an opportunity to open up the market for this vehicle from what we had done on the previous RHT. One of the main reasons was in our studies we found that most people with the previous RHT and most people in general with RHT, predominantly they drive the cars with the top up. And obviously a roadster owner predominantly drives the car with the top down. So we felt, well, if the top is going to be up a large percentage of the time, why not make sure that when it is up, the car looks good in its closed coupe state, if you will. So that was one of the main reasons behind doing the roof design the way we did it compared to what we had done on the third gen car. So the first thing you notice about the car from a design standpoint, it's a much rounder kind of design. It's a much more flowing design. We talked about the CX-5 yesterday with the more linear line work, and the CX-9 as well. It's all part of Kodo design and this movement of bringing soul into the design. But we took a slightly different approach with the MX-5 when we were developing that. And obviously the MX-5 and this car are almost identical with the exception of the deck lid and the rear quarter panel and the roof, obviously. So what we wanted to do on this car is we really wanted to kind of embrace what was in a classic car, like the classic Italian cars of the 60s. And so we wanted this really beautiful plan view. So when you walk around the car from front to rear, you don't notice any lines to interrupt your eye. Your eye flows from the front of the car to the rear of the car seamlessly. We really worked on what we call surface-based reflections. And that's, again, we talked a little bit about that yesterday with the CX-5, but it's especially evident on this car and on the RX Vision, how much we worked on just surface reflections and how much that affects the volumes of the car and the balance of the car and the movement of the car. And speaking of movement, when you look at the Roadster, you'll notice that the cabin, probably about a 50-50 balance between the cabin and the wheels. But what we wanted to do on the RF is we really wanted to pull that back a little bit and put more of the weight on the rear wheel, again, to get that traction form that we talked about on our previous generation products and yesterday on the CX-5. So what we did is we shifted the roof back. The A-pillar, all of this is identical to the Roadster, but what we did is we pushed the roof line back a little bit and we accentuated the flying buttress as far back as we could put it. What that does also visually, it lowers the overall roof. So if you guys recall on the third-gen car, the roof looked really tall and kind of ungainly. Well, this, by pulling it back and stretching it, it visually lowers. It's not any higher necessarily or lower necessarily than the previous car, but it does visually look a lot lower because of the way we've extended it to the rear quarter panel. We've also done that with the graphics by pulling in the window. We could have ended it here and just had a large flying buttress, even though this is not a window. We could have had this as one big surface, but we want to break the mass up with this side graphic. So that was another one of the tricks we played a little bit to get the roof to look like it's a little bit further rearward. It gives the car a much more coupe-like proportion. Again, very reminiscent of Italian sports cars. The other thing we looked at doing was making sure that the surfacing between the fender and the roof was harmonious. So there wasn't this big break and then the surface line. So we worked really hard on getting this surface and this brake line to tie in to the brake line up here so that it looks like a very continuous surface. And again, gives it this kind of coupe-like beauty. When you look at the car in your first readers, it doesn't look like the top even goes down. It just looks like it's a purpose-built coupe. While we're talking, let me open the top for you guys, see how it functions. We can do it a couple times if you want to get video. See, it takes about 13 seconds to go from completely closed to completely open. It functions at about 6 miles an hour, and that was an interesting story behind that. The Japanese engineers, the Mazda engineers, realized that at over 6 miles an hour, people's hair starts to blow behind them. So they wanted to make sure that if you're driving, that your hair is not blowing with the mechanisms moving behind you from a safety perspective. So it works at 6 miles an hour and below. The other amazing thing is from an engineering standpoint, at Mazda, we're always challenging ourselves with rotary engines and all sorts of other technology, Sky Active. Well, this for the engineers was a big challenge because originally they kept asking us, why can't you guys shorten this up and not have it go as far back as the deck lid? Because ultimately they didn't want to add any weight, and they also didn't want the top to take up any space in the truck, in the rear storage area. So the designers kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit and went back and forth. The engineers finally, in that true Mazda never stop challenging spirit, they figured out a way to do it by keeping this stationary, or if you will, moving and then being part of the design when the roof is actually down. And that was one of the ways we were able to accomplish keeping this look and this dynamic and not impacting any of the storage space. So the rear cargo trunk or the trunk area is identical to the Roadster. We added a little bit of weight, obviously, to do this, but we try to keep it as minimal as possible, so it's just about 100 pounds. The roof's made of 3 pieces. This first piece here would be metal, this is plastic, and then the front piece is aluminum. So that's another way we were able to make the top a lot lighter. And again, it doesn't impact any of the storage in the back. The other thing you'll notice, and this was another big challenge from an engineering standpoint, but it was really driven by design, was we really wanted to keep a lot of retractable hardtops. There's a big line on the body side that goes up into here, and it's really ugly. It kind of takes away from the flow of the design. We wanted to keep the purity of the MX-5 from the Roadster to the RF, and to do that, we really wanted to tailor this line so it doesn't impact the overall visual of the car. So that was one of the areas we worked heavily with the engineers to keep this parting line within the line of the belt line, if you will, at the rear deck. So when you walk up to the car, you really don't notice it's got a brake line in it or it's actually a retractable hardtop. So those are the basics of the car. Again, the big takeaway is we see this as a little bit different than a Roadster. This isn't just a hardtop Roadster. This is kind of a little bit different segment, maybe a little bit more of a mature design. It's obviously a little quieter inside. It's, from the interior standpoint, there's very few changes other than the offering of Napa leather and the LCD gauge on the left of the tack, which tells you the top is opening and closing, and then obviously the switch for the roof. But again, it's trying to be a little bit different, like we're trying to open up a little bit different segment with the vehicle, and we're trying to capture buyers that, you know, maybe just don't want to put the top down very often, but they still want a really attractive looking coupe. So with that, I'll take some questions if anybody has any.
How about like wind noise and keeping the wind out of the passenger compartment? How do you deal with that?
Well, as an open top car, that's what people want to experience, but we have this wind blocker back here, which helps reduce the buffing from behind. Again, I'd say the car's a little quieter with the top up. One of the things, you know, in a Roadster, it's very loud, so you don't notice a lot of the things, but we've obviously addressed some of the wind noise in the shut faces and the seals, so that when the top is up, it's quieter than, certainly quieter than the Roadster.
What kind of percentage do you expect between the top and between RF and
As far as the product mix?
yeah?
60% RF versus 40% soft top.
Which is kind of where it was previously.
Yeah.
And when will they be in the dealerships, or are they there already?
Arriving this, some are already there depending on where you're located, but yeah, it's on sale now.
And what's the premium? How much does it cost? How much more does it cost?
What's the number, Gene?
About $2,600, but there is no sport model, so it's Grand Touring and Club. So
So how much would like an all-out one be if you got?
all out total is a hair under probably under 35.
Okay. And what would it start at?
31,555,
So 31 to 35.
roughly, yeah.
And same colors as the convertible?
No.
No?
No, I mean, it's the machine gray. We don't offer all the colors we offer in the Roadster, so it's a limited color palette in this.
Is there a reason why?
Yeah, 'cause that's gonna be the higher volume, why would you do fewer colors?
Kind of a marketing strategy and product planning strategy for color. We wanted to introduce the machine gray on this because it's one of our premium colors. It's on our CX-9, it's going to be on our CX-5. And again, we see this, we want to separate this a little bit from the Roadster as far as the demographics. So we see a little bit more upscale demographic buying this, a little bit more mature buyer. And therefore, we've kind of gone with a little bit more mature color palette.
Okay, thank you.
Question, is there any difference in overall body rigidity with this structure versus the soft top structure?
I don't believe there is. I mean, we have one, I know Stan may be able to answer that, but I don't believe
It's
there
very
is.
little. There's some additional reinforcements, but it's very little. So the target for the dynamic for this vehicle was the original Roadster. So we wanted to make sure that if you jumped from this car to the other car, you basically wouldn't recognize the difference.
Can you put the top up?
Sure.
Thanks. There's a lot going on there. That's like origami.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. You know, and the other thing is when the top goes down, the windows drop a little bit as well. So if you have the windows closed, the windows will drop. Unlike the third gen car, you don't have to touch anything. Third gen, you have to undo the latch and then push the button and then the top. And this is pretty much a hands-free operation.
And what colors are on offer?
Machine gray, the soul red,
Black.
I want to say black.
It is.
And I don't know, I don't want to give you
So,
the wrong answer. I'm not
The
sure what other color.
two colors that are missing from this versus the soft top, the sport model has a flat white, not ceramic, but that's Arctic white, and that's not offered on this. And then instead of meteor gray, we have machine gray. Those are the two big color differences.
And any other mechanical differences, like output the same, it's
Yeah, I mean, they're identical, like Sam said, a little bit of stiffening to keep the ride identical to the Roadster, but that's it. I don't know if you saw the launch edition that we offered, that was in machine gray with the Napa leather. That, you know, that was pretty cool, that was a very popular car we offered at the time.
Will that leather be on for serial production?
Do you know if the Napa leather is gonna be on it?
Not for 17. So, I'm, you know, much like, Soared with the cab interior is now on offer for 17 for the soft top. You know, there's no real, we don't have any indication of what 18 will bring yet, but we know for 17 that was offered it, anything but the launch edition.
We really wanted to make the launch edition exclusive, and that was part of the reason that whether we carried it on later on or not was really kind of a product planning and marketing.
So we encourage you guys, when you get out to the cars, the tops will be up. Just to get a sense of the quietness with the top up, we encourage you to start, and then as you go through your drive, go ahead and drop the top, stop the light or whatever. So that way you get a sense of both up and down driving. All right, you guys ready to drive? Any other questions?
Great.
We're good?
All right.
Great.
We have hats and sunscreen on your right side before you head
Hi
out.
guys, we're gonna go and drive the car, we're gonna review it, so stay tuned for a complete review on TFL car this weekend, and we're gonna go live again, this time from Boulder, with Nathan and Tommy doing a special Jeep show on Friday for TFL Today Live. So thanks for watching, and come back to TFL car for a complete review. Andre, let's go drive this bad boy, huh?
All right.